To the Little House. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Carmen H. Chimneysmoke by Christopher Morley. To the Little House. Dear little house, dear shabby street, dear books and beds and food to eat, how feeble words are to express the facets of your tenderness. How white the sun comes through the pane, in tinkling music drips the rain. How burning bright the furnace glows, what puffs the shower when it snows. Oh dearly loved Long Island trains, oh well remembered joys and pains. How near the housetops beauty leans, along that little street in Queens. Let these poor rhymes abide for proof, joy dwells beneath a humble roof. Heaven is not built of country seats, but little poor suburban streets. March 1917. End of To the Little House. A Grace Before Writing by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. This is a sacrament, I think, holding the bottle toward the light, as blue as lupin gleams the ink. May truth be with me as I write. That small dark cistern may afford reunion with some oneish friend, and with this ink I have just poured, may none but honest words be penned. End of A Grace Before Writing. Dedication for Fireplace by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. This hearth was built for thy delight, for thee the logs burst on, for thee the largest chair at night is to the chimney drawn. For thee, dear lass, the match was lit, to you the ruddy blaze. May Jack Frost give us joy of it for many, many days. End of dedication for Fireplace. Taking Title by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. To make this house my very own could not be done by law alone. To covenant and deed convey absolute fee, as lawyers say. There are domestic rites beside, by which this house is sanctified. By kindled fire upon the hearth, by planted pansies in the garth, by food, and by the quiet rest of those brown eyes that I love best, and by a friend's bright gift of wine, I dedicate this house of mine. When all but I are self-abate, I trail about my quiet state, a wreath of blue tobacco smoke, a charm that evil never broke, and bring my ritual to an end by giving shelter to a friend. This done, O dwelling, you become not just a house, but truly home. End of Taking Title. The Secret by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. It was the house of quietness to which I came at dusk. The garth was lit with roses, and heavy with damask. The tremulous tall poplar trees stood whispering around. The gentle flicker of their plumes more quiet than no sound. And as I wondered at the door what magic might be there, the lady of sweet silences came softly down the stair. End of The Secret. Only a Matter of Time by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Down sleeping time, sweet, swift, and shallow stream, here like a boulder lies this afternoon. Across your eager flow, so you shall stay, deepen and damp, to let me breathe and be. Your troubled fluency, your running gleam, shall pause and circle idly, still and clear, the while I lie and search your glassy pool, where, gently coiling in their lazy round, unseparable minutes drift and swim, eddy and rise and brim, and I will see how many crystal bubbles of slack time the mind can hold and cherish in one now. Now, for one conscious vacancy of sense, the stream is gathered in a deepening pond, not a mere moving mirror, through the sharp correct reflection of the standing scene. The mind can dim and cleanse itself with rest, and see, slow spinning in the lucid gold, your liquid motes, imperishable time. It cannot be. The runner slips away. The clear smooth downward sluice begins again, more brightly slanting for that trembling pause. leaving the sense its conscious vague unease, as when a sonnet flashes on the mind, trembles and burns an instant, and is gone. End of Only a Matter of Time. At the Mermaid Cafeteria by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Truth is enough for prose, calmly it goes, to tell just what it knows. For verse, skill will suffice, delicate nice, casting of verbal dice. Poetry men attain by subtler paint, more flagrant in the brain. An honesty unfeigned, a heart unchained, a madness well restrained. End of At the Mermaid Cafeteria. Our House by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. It should be yours if I could build the quaint old dwelling I desire, with books and pictures bravely filled, and chairs beside an open fire. White panelled rooms with candles lit, I lie awake to think of it. A dell for the sunny hours, a garden of old-fashioned flowers, say marigolds and lavender, and mignonette and feverfew, and Judas tree and maidenhair, and candytuft and thyme and rue, all this for you to wander in. A Chinese cart called Mandarin, waving a sluggish silver fin. Deep in the moat, so tame he comes, to lick your fingers, offering crumbs. Tall chimneys like long listening ears, white shutters, ivy green and thick, and walls of ruddy Tudor brick, grown mellow with the passing years. And windows with small leaded panes, broad window seats for when it rains. A big blue bowl of potpourri, and yes, a Spanish chestnut tree, to coin the autumn's minted gold, a summer house for drinking tea, all this, just think, for you and me. A staircase of the old black wood cut in the days of Robin Hood, and banisters worn smooth as glass, down which your hand will lightly pass. A piano with pale yellow keys, for wistful twilight melodies, and dusty bottles in a bin, all this for you to revel in. But when, ah well, until that time, we'll habit in this house of rhyme. 1912. End of Our House. On Naming a House by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. When I a householder became, I had to give my house a name. I thought I'll call it Poplar Trees, or Widdershins, or Velvet Bees, or Just Beneath a Star. I thought of house where plumbings freeze, or As You Like It, if you please, or nicotine, or bread and cheese, full moon or doors ajar. But still I sought some subtle charm, some rune to guard my roof from harm, and keep the devil far. I thought of this, and I was safe. I had my letterheads engraved, The House Where Brown Eyes Are. End of On Naming a House. A Halloween Memory by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Do you remember Heart's Desire, the night when Halloween first came? The newly dedicated fire, the hearth unsanctified by flame. How anxiously we swept the bricks, how tragic but the draught not right, and then the blaze enwrapped the sticks, and filled the room with dancing light. We could not speak, but only gaze, nor half believe what we had seen. Our home, our hearth, our golden blaze, our cider marks, our Halloween. And then a thought occurred to me. We ran outside with sudden shout, and looked up at the roof to see our own dear smoke come drifting out. And all of man's felicities, the very subtlest one, say I, is when for the first time he sees his hearth fire smoke against the sky. End of A Halloween Memory. Refusing You Immortality by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. If I should tell unstinted your beauty and your grace, all future lads would whisper traditions of your face. If I make public tumult your mirth, your crinkly state, posterity would grumble that it was born too late. I will not frame your beauty in bright undying phrase, nor blaze it as a legend for unborn men to praise. For why should future lovers be saddened and depressed? Deluded, let them fancy their own girls lovelier. End of Refusing You Immortality. Bayberry Candles by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Dear sweet, when dusk comes up the hill, the fire leaps high with golden prongs. I place along the chimney sill the tiny candles of my songs. And though unsteadily they burn, as evening shades from grey to blue, like candles they will surely learn to shine more clear for love of you. End of Bayberry Candles. Secret Laughter by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. There is a secret laughter that often comes to me, and though I go about my work as humble as can be, there is no prince or prelate I envy, no, not one. No evil can befall me, by God, I have a son. End of Secret Laughter. 6 Weeks by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. He is so small he does not know the summer sun, the winter snow, the spring that ebbs and comes again. All this is far beyond his ken. A little world he feels and sees, his mother's arms, his mother's knees. He hides his face against her breast, and does not care to learn the rest. End of 6 Weeks Old. A Charm by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. For our new fireplace to stop its smoking. O wood burn bright, O flame be quick, O smoke draw cleanly up the flue. My lady chose your every brick, and sets her dearest hopes on you. Logs cannot burn, nor tea be sweet, nor white bread turn to crispy toast, until the charm be made complete by love to lay the sooty ghost. And then, dear books, dear waiting chairs, dear china and mahogany, draw close, for on the happy stairs my brown-eyed girl comes down for tea. End of A Charm. My Pipe by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. My pipe is old and caked with soot. My wife remarks, "How can you put that horrid relic so unclean inside your mouth? The nicotine is strong enough to stupefy a Swedish plumber," I reply. This is the kind of pipe I like. I fill it full of happy strike, or barking cat, or cabman's puff, or Brooklyn Bridge, that potent stuff, or chaste embraces, necklace twists, or honeycomb, or nigger fist. I clamp my teeth upon its stem, it is my bliss, my diadem. Whatever fate may do to me, this is my favorite bee. Bee, bee, for this dear pipe you feign to scorn, I smoked the night the boy was born. End of my pipe. The 542 by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Lilac, violet, and rose, ardently the city glows. Sunset glory, purely sweet, gilds the dreaming byway street, and above the avenue winter dusk is deepening blue. Then across Long Island meadows, darker, darker grow the shadows. Patience, little waiting lass, laggard minutes slowly pass. Patience loves the yellow fire, homeward bound its heart's desire. Hark, adown the canyon street flows the merry tide of feet. High the golden buildings loom, blazing in the purple gloom. All the town is set with stars, homeward chant the Broadway cars. All down 32nd Street, homeward, homeward, say the feet. Tramping men uncouth the wheels, footsore, weary, thrill anew. Gone the ringing telephones, blessed nightfall now atones. Casting brightness on the snow, golden the train windows go. Then, how long it seems at last, all the way is overpast. Hark the beats your muffled drum, lo, your venturer is come. Wide the door, leap high a fire. Home at length is heart's desire. Gone is weariness and fret, as the still warm lips are met. Once again may be renewed the conjoined beatitude. End of the 542. Peter Pan by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The boy for whom Barrie wrote Peter Pan, the original of Peter Pan, has died in battle. New York Times. And Peter Pan is dead? Not so. When mothers turn the lights down low and tuck their little sons in bed, they know that Peter is not dead. That little rounded blanket hue, those prayer time eyes so deep and still. However wise and great a man he grows, he still is Peter Pan. And mothers' ways are often cool. They pause in doorways just to hear a tiny breathing, think a prayer, and then go tiptoe down the stair. End of Peter Pan. In Honor of Taffy, Topaz by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Taffy, the topaz-colored cat, thinks now of this and now of that, but chiefly of his meals. Asparagus and cream and fish are objects of his Freudian wish. What you don't give, he steals. His gallant heart is strongly stirred by cling of plate or flight of bird. He has a plumy tail, and night he treads on stealthy path, as merry as Sir Galahad, a-seeking of the Grail. His amiable amber eyes are very friendly, very wise. Like Buddha, grave and fat, he sits regardless of applause, and thinking as he kneads his paws, what fun to be a cat. End of In Honor of Taffy Topaz. The Cedar Chest by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Her mind is like her cedar chest, wherein in quietness do rest her whispered dreamings of her heart, in fragrant folds all laid apart. There put away in sprigs of rhyme, until her life's full blossom time flutter like tremulous little birds her small and sweet maternal words. End of the Cedar Chest. Reading Aloud by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Once we read Tennyson aloud, in our great fireside chair. Between the lines my lips could touch her April-scented hair. How very fond I was to think the printed poems fair, when close within my arms I held a living lyric there. End of Reading Aloud. Animal Crackers by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Animal crackers and cocoa to drink, that is the finest of suppers, I think. When I'm grown up and can have what I please, I think I shall always insist upon this. What do you choose when you're offered a treat? When mother says, what would you like best to eat? Is it waffles and syrup or cinnamon toast? It's cocoa and animals that I love most. The kitchen's the coziest place that I know. The kettle is singing, the stove is aglow. And there in the twilight, how jolly to see the cocoa and animals waiting for me. Daddy and mother dine later in state, with Mary to cook for them, Susan to wait. But they don't have nearly as much fun as I, who eat in the kitchen with nurse standing by. And Daddy once said he would like to be me, having cocoa and animals once more for tea. End of Animal Crackers. The Milkman by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Early in the morning, when the dawn is on the roofs, you hear his wheels come rolling, you hear his horse's hoofs. You hear the bottles clinking, and then he drives away. You yawn in bed, turn over, and begin another day. The old dairymaids are dear to every poet's heart. I'd rather be the dairyman and drive a little cart, and buster round the village in the early morning blue, and hang my reins upon a hook, as I've seen Casey do. End of The Milkman. Light Verse by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. At night the gas lamps light our streets, electric bulbs our homes. The gas is built in cubic feet, electric light in ohms. But one illumination still is brighter far and sweeter. It is not figured in a bill, nor measured by a meter. More bright than lights that money buys, more pleasing to discerners, the shining lamps of Helen's eyes, those lovely double burners. End of Light Verse. The Furnace by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. At night I opened the furnace door. The warm glow brightened the cellar floor. The fire that sparkled blue and red kept small toes cozy in their bed. As up the stairs, so late I stole, I said my prayer, thanked God for coal. End of the furnace. Washing the Dishes by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. When we on simple rations sup, how easy is the washing up! But heavy feeding complicates the task by soiling many plates. And though I grant that I have prayed that we might find a serving maid, I'd scullion all my days, I think, to see her smile across the sink. I wash, she wipes, in water hot. I souse each dish and pan and pot, while Taffy mutters pearls and bags, and rubs himself against my legs. The man who never in his life has washed the dishes with his wife, or polished up the silver plate, he still is largely celibate. One warning there is certain where, that must be handled with all care. The Lord himself will give you up, if you should drop a willow cup. End of washing the dishes. The Church of Unbent Knees by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. As I went by the church today, I heard the organ cry, and goodly folk were on their knees, but I went striding by. My minster hath a roof more vast, my aisles are oak trees high, my altar cloth is on the hills, my organ is the sky. I see my rose upon the clouds, the winds my chanted choir. My crystal windows heaven glazed are stained with sunset fire. The stars, the thunder, and the rain, white sands and purple seas, these are his pulpit and his pew, my God of unbent knees. End of the Church of Unbent Knees. Elegy written in a country cabin by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The furnace tolls the knell of falling steam, the coal supply is virtually done, and at this price indeed it does not seem as though we could afford another ton. Now fades the glossy, cherished anthracite, the radiators lose their temperature. How ill avail on such a frosty night the short and simple flannels of the poor. Though in the icebox, fresh and newly laid, the rude forefathers of the omelette sleep, no eggs for breakfast till the bill is paid, we cannot cook again till coal is cheap. Can Maurice chair or papier-mâché bust revivify the failing pressure gauge? Chop up the grand piano if you must, and burn the East Aurora parrot cage. Full many a can of purest kerosene, the dark unfathomed tanks of Standard Oil, shall furnish me, and with their aid I mean to bring my morning coffee to a boil. End of Elegy written in a country cabin. The Old Swimmer by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I often wander on the beach, where once so brown of limb, the biting air, the roaring surf, summoned me to swim. I see my old abundant youth, where combers lean and spill, and though I taste the foam no more, other swimmers will. Oh, good exultant strength to meet the arching wall of green, to break the crystal, swirl emerge, dripping, taut and clean. To climb the moving hilly blue, to dive in ecstasy, and feel the salty chill embrace arm and rib and knee. What brave and vanished laughter then, and tingling tides to run! What warm and comfortable sands, dreaming in the sun! The crumbling water spreads in snow, the surf is hissing still, and though I kiss the salt no more, other swimmers will. End of The Old Swimmer. The Moon Ship by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The moon seems like a docile ship, she pastures while all people sleep. But sometimes when she goes astray, she wanders all alone by day. Up in the clear blue morning air, we are surprised to see her there, grazing in her woolly white, waiting the return of night. When dusk lets down the meadow bars, she greets again her lambs, the stars. End of The Moon Ship. Smells by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Why is it that the poets tell so little of the sense of smell? These are the odors I love well. The smell of coffee freshly ground, or rich plum pudding holly crowned, or onions fried and deeply browned. The fragrance of a fumy pie, the smell of apples newly ripe, and printer's ink on leaden type. Woods by moonlight in September breathe most sweet, and I remember many a smoky campfire ember. Camphor, turpentine, and tea, the balsam of a Christmas tree, these are whiffs of gramarye. A ship smells best of all to me. End of smells. Smells, Junior by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. My daddy smells like tobacco and books. Mother like lavender and listerine. Uncle John carries a whiff of cigars. Nanny smells starchy and soapy and clean. Shandy, my dog, has a smell of his own. When he's been out in the rain he smells most. But Katie the cook is more splendid than all. She smells exactly like hot buttered toast. End of Smells, Junior. Ma Kuang, Chinese Laundryman by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I like the Chinese laundryman. He smokes a pipe that bubbles, and seems, as far as I can tell, a man with but few troubles. He has much to do, no doubt, but also much to think about. Most men, for instance, I myself, are spending at all times all our hard-earned quarters, our nickels and our dimes. With Ma Kuang it's the other way. He takes in small change every day. Next time you call for collars in his steamy little shop, observe how tight his pigtail is coiled and piled on top. But late at night he lets it hang, and thinks of the Yang Tse Kiang. End of Ma Kuang, Chinese Laundryman. The Fat Little Purse by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. On Saturdays, after the baby is bathed, fed, and sleeping serene, his mother as quickly as may be arranges the household routine. She rapidly makes herself pretty, and leaves the young limb with his nurse. Then gaily she starts for the city, and with her the fat little purse. She trips through the crowd at the station to the rendezvous spot where we meet, and keeping her eyes from temptation, she avoids the most windowy street. She is off for the weekly adventure, to her comrade for better and worse. She says, "Never mind when you've spent your last bit, here's the fat little purse." Apart, in her thrifty exchequer, she has hidden what must not be spent, enough for the butcher and baker, Katie's wages and milkman and rent. But the rest of her brave little treasure she is gleeful and prompt to disburse. What a richness of innocent pleasure can come from her fat little purse! But either by giving or buying, the little purse does not stay fat. Perhaps it's a ragged child crying, perhaps it's a pert little hat. And the bonny brown eyes that were brightened by pleasures so quaint and diverse, look up at me, wistful and frightened, to see such a thin little purse. The wisest of all financiering is that which is done by our wives. By some little known profiteering, they add twos and twos and make fives. And, husband, if you were to be learning the secret of thrift, it is thirds. Invest the great part of your earning in her little fat little purse. End of the Fat Little Purse. The Reflection by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I have not heard her voice, nor seen her face, nor touched her hand, and yet some echo of her woman's grace I understand. I have no picture of her lovelihood, her smile, her tint, but that she is both beautiful and good I have true hint. In all that my friend thinks and says, I see her mirror through. His thought of her is gentle she must be, or gentle too. In all his grief or laughter, work or play, each mood and whim, how brave and tender day by common day, she speaks through him. Therefore I say I know her, be her face, or dark or fair, for when he shows his heart's most secret place, I see her there. End of the Reflections. The Balloon Peddler by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. Who is the man on Chestnut Street with colored toy balloons? I see him with his airy fright on sunny afternoons. A peddler of such lovely goods, the hot lips to behold, his mass of bubbles red and green and blue and pink and gold. For sure that noble peddler man hath antique merchandise. His toys that float and swim in air attract my eager eyes. Perhaps he is a changeling prince, bewitched through magic moons, to tempt a solemn busy folk with meaningless balloons. Beware, O valiant merchantman, tread cautious on the pave, lest some day come some release, some haggard soul and grave, a Puritan efficientist, who deems thy toys a sin. He'll stalk thee madly from behind and prick them with a pin. End of the Balloon Peddler. Lines for an Eccentric's bookplate by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. To use my books all friends are bid, my shelves are opened for them, and in each one as Grolier did, I write a amicorum. All lovely things in truth belong to him who best employs them. The house, the picture, and the song are his who most enjoys them. Perhaps this book holds precious lore, and you may best discern it. If you appreciate it more than I, why don't you return it? End of lines for an Eccentric's bookplate. To a Post Office Inkwell by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. How many humble hearts have dipped into you and scrawled their manuscript, have shared their secrets, told their cares, their curious and quaint affairs. Your pool of ink, your scratchy pen, have moved the lives of unborn men, and watched young people, breathing hard, put heaven on a postal card. End of the Post Office Inkwell. The Creep by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. I sought immortality here and there. I sent my rockets into the air. I gave my name a hostage to ink. I dined a critic and bought him drink. I spurned the weariness of the flesh, denied fatigue, and began afresh. If men knew all, how they would laugh. I even planned my epitaph. And then one night when the dusk was thin, I heard the nursery rites begin. I heard the tender soothing said over a crib and a small sweet head. Then in a flash it came to me that there was my immortality. End of the Crib. The Poet by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. The barren music of a word or phrase, the futile arts of syllable and stress, he sought the poetry of common days, he did not guess. The simplest, sweetest rhythms life affords, unselfish love, true effort truly done. The tender themes that underlie all words, he knew not one. The human cadence and the subtle chime of little laughters, home and child and wife, he knew not. Artist merely in his rhyme, not in his life. End of the Poet. To a Discarded Mirror by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. Dear glass, before your silver pane my lady used to tend her hair, and yet I searched your disc in vain to find some shadow of her there. I thought your magic, deep and bright, might still some dear reflection hold, some glint of eyes or shoulders white, some flash of gowns she wore of old. Your polished round must still recall the laughing face, the neck like snow. Remember on your lonely wall that Helen used you long ago. End of To a Discarded Mirror. To a Child by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. The greatest poem ever known is one all poets have outgrown, the poetry innate untold of being only 4 years old. Still young enough to be a part of nature's great impulsive heart, born comrade of bird, beast, and tree, and unself-conscious as the bee. And yet with lovely reason skilled each day new paradise to build, a late explorer of each sense, without dismay, without pretense. In your unstrained transparent eyes there is no conscience, no surprise. Life's queer conundrums you accept, your strange divinity still kept. Being that now absorbs you, all harmonious unit integral, will shred into perplexing bits, contradictions of the wits. And life, that sets all things in rhyme, may make you poet too in time. But there were days, O tender elf, when you were poetry itself. End of To a Child. To a Very Young Gentleman by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. My child, what painful vistas are before you! What years of youthful ills and pangs and balms! Indignities from aunts who just adore you, and chicken pox and measles, croup and mumps. I don't wish to dismay you, it's not fair to, promoted now from bassinet to crib. But, oh my babe, what troubles flesh is hair to, since God first made so free with Adam's rib. Laboriously you will proceed with teething. When teeth are here, you meet the dentist's chair. They teach you ways of walking, eating, breathing, that stoves are hot and how to brush your hair. And so, my poor undaunted little stripling, by bruises, tears, and trousers you will grow, and, borrowing a leaf from Mr. Kipling, I'll wish you luck and moralize you so. If you can think up 7,000 methods of giving cooks and parents heart disease, can rifle pantry shelves and then give death odds by water, fire, and falling out of trees, if you can fill your every boyish minute with 60 seconds worth of mischief done, yours is the house and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be your father's son. End of To a Very Young Gentleman. To an Old-Fashioned Poet by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Most tender poet, when the gods confer, they save your gracile songs a nook apart, and bless with time's untainted lavender the ageless April of your singing heart. You, in an age unbridled, never decline the appointed patience that the muse decrees, until, deep in the flower of the mind, the hovering words alight like bridegroom bees. By casual praise or casual blame unstirred, the placid gods grant gifts where they belong. To you who understand the perfect word, they recompense necessities of song. End of To an Old-Fashioned Poet. Burning Leaves in Spring by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. When withered leaves are lost in flame, their eddying ghosts a thin blue haze blow through the thickets whence they came on amber-lucent autumn days. The cool green woodland heart receives their dim dissolving phantom breath. In young hereditary leaves they see the happy life in death. My minutes perish as they glow, time burns my crazy bonfire through, but ghosts of blackened hours still blow eternal beauty back to you. End of Burning Leaves in Spring. Burning Leaves, November by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. These are folios of April, all the library of spring, misses gilt and rubricated with the frost illumining. Ruthless, we destroy these treasures, set the torch with hand profane, gone, like Alexandrian vellums, like the books of burnt Louvain. Yet these classics are immortal. Oh, collectors, have no fear, for the publisher will issue new editions every year. End of Burning Leaves, November. A Valentine Game by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. They have a game thus played, he says unto his mate, what are those shining things, so brown, so golden brown? And she in doubt replies, how now, what shining things so brown? But then, she coming near, to see more clear, he looks again and cries, all startled with surprise, sweet wretch, they are your eyes, so brown, so brown! The climax and the end consist in kissing and in being kissed. End of A Valentine Game. For a Birthday by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. At 2 years old the world he sees must seem expressly made to please. Such new-found words and games to try, such sudden mirth, he knows not why, so many curiosities. As life about him by degrees discloses all its pageantries, He watches with approval shy at 2 years old. With wonders tired he takes his ease At dusk upon his mother's knees. A little laugh, a little cry, Put toys to bed, then sleepy by. The world is made of such as this At 2 years old. End of Fall Birthday. Keats by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. 1821 to 1921. When sometimes on a moony night I've passed A street lamp seen my doubled shadow flee, I've noticed how much darker, clearer cast The full moon poured her silhouette of me. Just so of spirits, beauty's silver light Limns with a ray more pure and tenderer too. Man's clumsy gestures to unearthly sight Surpass the shapes they show by human view. On this brave world, where few such meteors fell, Her younger son to save us, Beauty flung. He suffered and descended into hell And comforts yet the ardent and the young. Drunken of moonlight, dazed by draughts of sky, Dizzy with stars, his mortal fever ran, His utterance a moon enchanted cry, Not free from folly, for he too was man. And now and here, 100 years away, Where topless towers shadow golden streets, The young men sit, nook in a cheap cafe, Perfectly happy, talking about Keats. End of Keats. To H.F.M. A Sonnet in Sunlight by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. This is a day for sonnets, oh how clear Our splendid cliffs and summits leave the gaze. If all the perfect moments of the year Were poured and gathered in one sudden blaze, then perhaps, in some endowed phrase, My flag-strewn words would rise and come more near To tell of you, your beauty and your praise Would fall like sunlight on this paper here. Then I would build a sonnet that would stand Proud and perennial on this pale bright sky, So tall, so steep, that it might stay the hand Of Time the dusty wrecker. He would sigh To tear my strong words down, and he would say That song he built for her one summer day. End of To H.F.M. A Sonnet in Sunlight. Quickening by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Such little puny things are words in rhyme, Poor feeble loops and strokes as frail as hairs. You see them printed here and mark their chime, And turn to your more durable affairs. Yet on such petty tools the poet dares To run his race with mortar, bricks and lime, And draws his frail stick to the point and stares To aim his arrow at the heart of time. Intangible, yet pressing, hemming in, This measured emptiness engulfs us all, And yet he points his paper javelin And sees it eddy, waver, turn and fall, And feels, between delight and trouble torn, The stirring of a sonnet still unborn. End of Quickening. At the Window Sill by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. To write a sonnet needs a quiet mind. I paused and pondered, tried again to write. Raising the sash, I breathed the winter night. Papers in small hot room were left behind. Against the gauzy purple, ribbed and spinned With golden slots and vertebrae of light. Men's cages loom, down sliding from a height. An elevator wing as it declined. Coward, there is no quiet in the brain. If pity burns it not, then beauty will. Tinder is it for every blowing spark, Uncertain whether this is bliss or pain. The unresting mind will gaze across the sill From high apartment windows in the dark. End of At a Window Sill. The River of Light by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Part 1. Broadway, 103rd to 96th. Lights foam and bubble down the gentle grate. Bright shine chop sueys and rotisseries. In pink translucent glowingly displayed, see camisole and stocking and chemise. Delicatessen windows full of cheese. Above the chimes of church bells toll and fade. And then, from off some distant palisade, that gluey savor of the Jersey breeze. The burning bulbs in green and white and red spell out a change of program. Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. A clicking taxi spins with ruby spark. There is a sense of poising near the head of some great flume of brightness flowing by, to pour in gathering torrent through the dark. Part 2. Below 96th. The current quickens, and in golden flow hurries its flotsam downward through the night. Here are the rapids where the undertow wheels endless motors in a gleaming flight. From blazing tributaries left and right, influent streams of blue and amber grow. Columbus circle eddies all below, its pouring flame a gorge of broken light. See how the burning river boils and spades, channeled by cliffs of insane jubilee, painting a rosy roof on cloudy air, and just about 10 minutes after 8, tossing a surf of color to the sky, it bursts in cataracts upon Times Square. End of the River of Light. Of a Glorious Madness by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The city's mad. Through her prodigious veins what errant strange eccentric humors thrill. Day, when the cataracts of sunlight spill. Night, golden panelled with her window panes. The toss of wind-blown skirts, and who can drill forever his fierce heart with checking reins? Cruel and mad, my statisticians say. Ah, but she raves in such a gallant way. Brave madness, built for beauty and the sun. In such a town who can't be saint? Not I. Of clashing colors all her moods are spun, a scarlet anger and a golden cry. This frantic town where madcap mischiefs run, they ask to take the wheels and be anon. End of her glorious madness. In an Auction Room by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Letter of John Keats to Fanny Brown, Anderson Galleries, March 15, 1920. To Dr. A. S. W. Rosenberg. How about this lot? Said the auctioneer. 100, may I say, just for a start? Between the plum red curtains drawn apart, a written sheet was held, and strange to hear, Dealer, would I was steadfast as thou art, the cold quick beats against you in the rear. The crimson salon is a glow more clear, burnt blood-like purple as the poet's heart. Song that outgrew the singer, bitter love, that broke the proud heart it held in thrall. Poor script, where still those tragic passions move. 800 bid, fair warning, the last call. The soul of Adonai like a star, sold for $800, Dr. R. End of In an Auction Room. Epitaph for a Poet Who Wrote No Poetry by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. It is said that the poet has died young in the breast of the most stolid. Robert Louis Stevenson. What was the service of this poet? He who blinked the blinding Desirees that run, where life profiles its edges to the sun, and still suspected much he could not see, clothed up yet in his taciturnity. There lay the vein of glory, known to none, and moods of secret smiling only won, when peace and passion, time and sense agree. Fighting the woe he loved for chance to brood, ignorant when to embrace, when to avoid. His loves that held him in their vital clutch, this was his service, his beatitude. This was the inward trouble he enjoyed, who knew so little, and who felt so much. End of Epitaph for a Poet Who Wrote No Poetry. Sonnet by a Geometer by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Circle. Few things are perfect, we bear Eden's scar, yet 40 men was godlike in design. That day when first with stick and length of twine he drew me on the sand, then what could mar his joy in that obedient mystic line? And then, computing with a zeal divine, he caught pi 3.14159, and knew my lovely circuit to pi r. A circle is a happy thing to be. Think how the joyful perpendicular, erected at the keys of tangency, must meet my central point, my avatar. They talk of 14 points, yet only 3 determine every circle, Q, E, D. End of Sonnet by a Geometer. To a Vaudeville Terrier seen on a leash in the park by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. 3 times a day, at 2, at 7, at 9, Oh, Terrier, you play your little part. Absurd in coat and skirt you push a cart, with inner anguish walk a tightrope line. Up there, before the hot and dazzling shine, you must be rigid servant of your art, nor watch those fluffy cats your doggish heart might leap and then betray you with a whine. But sometimes when you're faithfully rehearsed, your trainer takes you walking in the park, straining to sniff the grass to chase a frog. The leash is slipped, and then your joy will burst. Adorable it is to run and bark, to be, alas how seldom, just a dog. End of two Vaudeville terriers seen on a leash in the park. To an Old Friend by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I like to dream of some established spot where you and I, old friend, an evening through, under tobacco's fog streaked grey and blue, might reconsider laughters unforgot. Beside a hearth glow golden clear and hot, I'll hear you tell the oddities men do. The clock would tick, and we would sit, we two. Life holds such meetings for us, does it not? Happy are men when they have learned to prize the sure unvarnished virtue of their friends, the unchanged kindness of a well-known face. On old fidelities our world depends, and runs a simple course in honest wise, not a mere taxicab shot wild through space. End of To an Old Friend. To a Burlesque Soubrette by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Upstage the great high-shafted big sequoia squawked in 2,000 watts of orange glare. You came, an impudent and deuce may care, danced where the gutter flamed with footlight fire. Flung from the roof spots red and yellow burnt, and followed you. The blatant brassy clang of instruments drowned out the words you sang, but goldenly you capered, twirled and turned. Boyish and slender, child-limbed, quick and proud, a spite of irresistible disdain, fair as a jonquil in an April rain, you seemed too sweet an imp for that dull crowd. And then, behind the scenes, I heard you say, "Oh God, I got a hellish cold today!" End of the Burlesque Soubrette. Thoughts While Packing a Trunk by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The sonnet is a trunk, and you must pack with care to ship frail baggage far away. The odd tack is the trunk, says stack the tray. Tight but not overloaded is the neck. First at the bottom, heavy thoughts you stack, and in the chinks your adjectives you lay. Your phrases folded neatly as you may, stowing a syllable in every crack. Then in the tray your daintiest stuff is hid, the tender quatrain where your moral sings. Be careful though, lest as you close the lid you crush and crumple all these fragile things. Your couplet snaps the haps and turns the key. Ship to the editor, marked C.O.D. End of Thoughts While Packing a Trunk. Streets by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I have seen streets where strange enchantment broods, old ruddy houses where the morning shone, in simply quiet on their tranquil moods, across the sills white curtains outward blown. Their marble steps were scored as white as bone, where scrubbing housemaids toiled on wounded knee. And yet among all streets that I have known, these placid byways give least peace to me. In such a house, where green light shining through from some back garden framed her silhouette, I saw a girl, heard music blithely sung. She stood there laughing in a dress of blue, and as I went on slowly there I met an old, old woman who had once been young. End of Streets. To the Only Begetter by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I have no hope to make you live in rhyme, or with your beauty to enrich the years. Enough for me this now, this present time, the greater claim for greater sonneteers. But oh, how covetous I am of now, dear human minutes marred by human pains. I want to know your lips, your cheek, your brow, and all the miracles your heart contains. I wish to study all your changing face, your eyes divinely hurt with tenderness. I hope to win your dear unstinted grace, for these blunt rhymes and what they would express. Then may you say, when others better prove, "There's for the style I'll read, he's for his love." When all my trivial rhymes are blotted out, vanish our days so precious and so few, If some should wonder what we were about, and what the little happenings we knew, I wish they might know how, night by night, my pencil, heavy in the sleepy hours, sought vainly for some gracious way to write. How much this love is ours, and only ours. How many evenings as you drowsed asleep I read to you by tawny candle glow, and watched you down the valley dim and deep, where poppies and April flowers grow. Then knelt beside your pillow with a prayer, and loved the breath of pansies in your hair. End of To the Only Begetter. Pedometer by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. My thoughts beat out in sonnets while I walk, and every evening on the homeward street I find the rhythm of my marching feet drops into verses, though the rhyme may balk. I think the sonneteers were walking men. The form is dull and rigid like a clam, but with the swing of legs the tramp, tramp, tramp of syllables begins to thud, and then, lo! while you seek a rhyme for hook or crook, shed your shabby coat, and you are Keats, to all great walk and singers, Meredith, and Shakespeare, Wordsworth, Keats, and Rupert Brooke. Free verse is poor for walking, but a sonnet, oh marvellous to strike and brood upon it. End of Pedometer. Hostages by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. He that has wife and children has given hostages to fortune. Bacon. I use fortune thou hast hostage of my best. I that was once so heedless of thy frown, have armed thee capably to strike me down. Have given thee blades to hold against my breast. My virtue that was once all self-possessed is puzzled out in little hands and brown, bright eyes, and in a sleeping baby's gown. To threaten this will put me to the test. Sure, since there are these pitiful poor chinks upon the makeshift armor of my heart, for thee no honor lies in such a fight, and thou wouldst shame to vanquish one, methinks, who came awake with such a painful start, to hear the coughing of a child at night. End of Hostages. Dura by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. How many evenings, walking soberly along our street or dappled with rich sun, I please myself with words, and happily time rhymes the footfalls, planning how they run. And yet when midnight comes, and paper lies, clean, white, receptive, all that one can ask, alas for drowsy spirit, weary eyes, and traitor hand that fails the well-loved task. Who ever learned the sonnet's bitter craft, but he had put away his sleep, his ease, the wine he loved, the man with whom he laughed, to brood upon such thankless tricks as this? And yet, such joy does in that craft abide, he greets the paper as a groom the bride. End of Dura. O. Henry Apothecary by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. O. Henry once worked in a drugstore in Greensboro, North Carolina. Where once in measure camphor, glycerine, quinine, and potash, peppermint in bars, and all the oils and essences so keen that druggists keep in rows of stoppered jars, now blended of strange drugs more volatile, the master pharmacist of joy and pain dispenses sadness tinctured with a smile, and laughter that dissolves in tears again. O brave apothecary, you who knew what dark and acid doses life prefers, and yet with friendly face resolved to brew the sparkling potions of your customers. In each prescription your physician bid, you poured your rich compassion and your wit. End of O. Henry Apothecary. For the Centenary of Keats' Sonnet by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. 1816, on first looking into Chapman's Homer. I knew a scientist, an engineer, student of tensile strength and calculus, a man who loved a cantilever trust, and always wore a pencil on his ear. My friend believed that poets all were queer, and literary folk ridiculous. But one night, when it chanced that three of us were reading Keats aloud, he stopped to hear. Lo, a new planet swam into his ken. His eager mind reached for it and took hold. 10 years are by, I see him now and then, and at alumni dinners if cajoled, he mumbles gravely to the cheering men, "Much have I travelled in the realms of gold." End of For the Centenary of Keats' Sonnet. "2 o'clock" by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Night after night goes by, and clocks still chime, and stars are changing patterns in the dark, and watches tick, and over puissant time benumbs the eager brain. The dogs that bark, the trains that roar and rattle in the night, the very cats that prowl, all quiet to find, and leave the darkness empty, silent, quiet. Sleep comes to crawl from the fretting mind. So all things end, and what is left at last? Some scribbled sonnets tossed upon the floor, a memory of easy days gone past, a run-down watch, a pipe, some clothes we wore, and in the darkened room I lean to know how warm her dreamless breath does pause and flow. End of 2 o'clock. The Commercial Traveller by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. Ah, very sweet, if news should come to you some afternoon while waiting for our ears, that the great manager had made me leave to travel on some territory new, and that, whatever homeward winds there blew, I could not touch your hand again, nor heave the locks upon our hearth, and bid you weave some wistful tale before the flames that grew. Then, when the sudden tears had ceased to blind your pansy eyes, I wondered if you could remember rightly and forget aright. Remember just your lad uncouthly good, forgetting when he failed in spleen or spite. Could you remember him as always kind? End of the Commercial Traveller. The Wedded Lover by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. I read in our old journals of the days when our first love was April sweet and new, how fair it blossomed and deep-rooted grew, despite the adverse time and our amaze, and moon and stars, and beauty beyond praise, that burgeoned all about us, gold and blue. The heaven arched us in, and all we knew was gentleness. We walk on happy ways. They said by now the path would be more steep, the sunsets paler and less mild the air. Rightly we heeded not, it was not true. We will not tell the secret, let it keep. I know not how I thought those days so fair, this being so much fairer spent with you. End of the Wedded Lover. To You, Remembering the Past by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. When we were parted, sweet and darkness came. I used to strike a match and hold a flame before your picture, and would breathless mark the answering glimmer of the tiny spark that brought to life the magic of your eyes, their wistful tenderness, their glad surprise. Holding that mimic torch before your shrine, I used to light your eyes and make them mine. Watch them like stars set in the lonely sky, whisper my heart out, yearning for reply. Summon your lips from far across the sea, bidding them live a twilight hour with me. Then, when the match was shriveled into gloom, lo, you were with me in the darkened room. End of To You, Remembering the Past. Charles and Mary by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. December 27, 1834. Lamb died just before I left town, and Mr. Rao of the East India House, one of his extras, notified it to me. He said Miss L. was resigned and composed at the event, but it was from her melody, then in mild type, so that when she saw her brother dead, she observed on his beauty when asleep, and apprehended nothing further. Letter of John Rickman, 24th January, 1835. I hear the voices still, the stammering one, struggling with some absurdity of jest. Her quiet words that puzzle and protest against the latest outrage of his fun. So wise, so simple, has she never guessed that through his laughter love and terror run? For when her trouble came and darkness pressed, he smiled and fought her madness with a pun. Through all those years it was his task to keep her gentle heart serenely mystified. If fate's an artist, this should be his pride. When in that Christmas season he lay dead, she innocently looked. I always said that Charles is really handsome when asleep. End of Charles and Mary. To a Grandmother by Christopher Morley. This recording is in the public domain. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the time for lullabies, my son lay on my mother's lap with sleepy, sleepy eyes. Oh, drowsy little Manny boy, with sleepy, sleepy eyes. I heard her sing and rock him, and the creak of the swaying chair, and the old dear cadence of the words came softly down the stair. And all the years had vanished, all folly, greed and stain. The old, old song, the creaking chair, the dearest arms again. Oh, lucky little Manny boy, to feel those arms again. End of To a Grandmother. Diaries by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. They catalogue their minutes. Now is actual, admit the fugitive. Take ink and pen, they say, for that is how we snare this flying life and make it live. So to their little pictures, and they sieve their happiness. Fields turned by the plough, the afterglow that summer sunsets give, the razor concave of a great ship's bow. O gallant instinct! Folly for man's mirth! Type cannot burn and sparkle on the page. No glittering ink can make this written word Shine clear enough to speak the noble rage And instancy of life. All sonnets blurred The sudden mood of truth that gave them birth. End of Diarist. The Last Sonnet by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Suppose one knew that never more might one Put pen to sonnet, well-loved task, that now these 14 lines were all he could allow To say his message, this forever done. How he would scan the word, the line, the rhyme, Intent to sum in dearly chosen phrase To Vindictrice the beauty of his days, Life's pride and pathos in one verse sublime. How bitter then would be regret and pang For former rhymes bedelied to refine For every verse that was not crystalline, and if belike this last one feebly rang, Honor and pride would cast it to the floor, Facing the judge with what was done before. End of the last sonnet. The Savage by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Civilization causes me alternate fits, disgust and glee. Buried in piles of glass and stone, my private spirit moves alone. Where every day from 8 to 6 I keep alive by hasty tricks. But I am simple in my soul, my mind is sullen to control. At dusk I smell the scent of earth, and I am dumb, too glad for mirth. I know the savours night can give, and then I live. No man is wholly pure and free, for that is not his destiny. But though I bend, I will not break, and still be savage for truth's sake. God damns easily convinced, like Pilate when his hands he wrings. End of the Savage. St. Paul's and Woolworth by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I stood on the pavement where I could admire, Behind the brown chapel, the cream and gold spire. Above, gilded lightning swam high on its ball. I saw the noon shadow, the church of St. Paul. And was there a meaning, my fancy would run, St. Paul in the shadow, St. Frank in the sun. End of St. Paul's and Woolworth. Add Wise to a City by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. O city, cage your poets, hem them in, and roof them over from the April sky. Clatter them round with babble, ceaseless din, and drown their voices with your thunder cry. Forbid their free feet on the windy hills, and harness them to daily ruts of stone. In florist windows lock the daffodils, and never, never let them be alone. For they are cursed, said poets, cursed and lewd, and freedom gives their tongues uncanny wit, and granted silence, thought and solitude. The absent omen might make song of it. So cage them in, and stand about them thick, and keep them busy with their daily bread. And should their eyes seem strange, then be quick to interrupt them ere the word be said. For, if their hearts burn with sufficient rage, with wasted sunsets and frustrated youth, some day they'll cry on some disturbing page the savage, sweet, unpalatable truth. End of Advice to a City. The Telephone Directory by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. No Malory of old romance, no Crusoe tale, it seems to me, Can equal in rich circumstance this Telephone Directory. No ballad of fair ladies' eyes, no legend of proud knights and dames, Can fill me with such bright surmise as this great book of numbered names. How many hearts and lives unknown, rare damsels pining for a squire, Are waiting for the telephone to ring and call them to the wire. Some wait to hear a loved voice say the news they will rejoice to know, At Rome 2637J, or Marathon 1450. And some, perhaps, are stung with fear, and answer with reluctant tread. The message they expect to hear means life or death, or daily bread. A million hearts here wait our call, all naked to our distant speech. I wish that I could ring them all and have some welcome news for each. End of the telephone directory. Green Escape by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a hot September day, I began to dream of a highland stream and a frostbit russet tree, of the swashing dip of a clipper ship, white canvas wet with spray, and the swirling green a milk foam cleaned along her canted lee. I heard the quick staccato click of the typist's pounding keys, and I had the brood of a wind more rude than that by a motor fan, and I lay inert in a flannel shirt to watch the rhyming seas deploy and fall in a silver sprawl on a beach of sun-blenched sand. There is no death shall tame my lass, for hills and windy skies, my secret hope of the sea's blue slope no clerkly task shall dull, and though I bring no echoed hint of adventures I devise, my eyes still pine for the comely line of an outbound vessel's hull. When I elope with an autumn day and make my green escape, I'll lift my pen to tamer men who have more docile souls, for forest owls and office fowls have a very different shape, and it's hard to woo the ocean blue in a row of pigeon-holes. End of Green Escape. Vesper Song for Commuters by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Instead of marathon, the commuter may substitute the name of his favorite suburb. The stars are kind to Marathon, how low, how close they lean! They jostle one another, and do their best to please. Indeed, they are so neighborly, that in the twilight green one reaches out to pick them behind the poplar trees. The stars are kind to Marathon, and one particular bright planet which is Vesper, most lucid and serene, is waiting by the railway bridge, the good commuter's star, the star of wise men coming home on time at 6:15. End of Vesper Song for Commuters. The Ice Wagon by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I'd like to split the sky that roofs us down, break through the crystallite of upper air, and tap the cool still reservoirs of heaven. I'll empty all those unseen lakes of freshness down some vast funnel through our stifled streets. I'd like to palm away the grit, the dust, raw dazzle of the sun on garbage piles, the droning troops of flies, sharp bitter smells, and gush the bright sweet flood of unused air down every alley where the children gaps. And then I'll take a fleet of ice wagons, big yellow creaking carts drawn by wet horses, and drive them rumbling through the blazing slums, and every wagon would be blocks of coldness, pale gleaming cubes of ice all green and silver, with inner veins and patterns, white and frosty. Great lumps of chill would drip and steam and shimmer and sparkle like rainbows in their little fractures. And where my wagon stood there would be puddles, a wetness and a sparkle and a coolness. My friends and I would chop and splinter open the blocks of ice, bare feet would soon come pattering, and some would wrap it up in Sunday papers, and some would stagger home with it in baskets, and some would be too gay for aught but sucking, licking, crunching those fast-melting pebbles, gulping as they slipped down unexpected, laughing to perceive that secret numbness amid the small hot persons. At every stop would be at least one urchin, would take a piece to cool the sweating horses, and hold it up against their silky noses, and they would start and then decide they liked it. Down all the sun-cursed byways of the town our wagons would be trailed by grimy tots, their ragged shirts half off them with excitement, dabbling toes and fingers in our leakage, a lucky few up sitting with the driver, or clambering and stretching grey-pink palms. And by the time the wagons were all empty, our arms and shoulders would be lame with chopping, our backs and thighs pain-shot, our fingers frozen. But how we would recall those eager faces, red thirsty tongues with ice chips sliding on them, the pinched white cheeks and their pathetic gladness. Then we would know that arms were made for aching. I wish to God that I could go tomorrow. End of the Ice Wagon. At the Movie Theatre by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. How well he spoke who coined the phrase, the picture palace, in sooth, a place where men's very days are crowned with kingliness of youth. Strange palace, crowded, airless, dim, where toes are trod and strained eyes smart, we watch a wand of brightness limn the old heroics of the heart. Romance again has us in thrall, and love is sweet and always true, And in the darkness of the hall hands clapped as they were meant to do. Remote from peevish joys and ills, our souls pretend are purged and free. We see the sun on western hills, the crumbling tumult of the sea. We are the blonde, the maiden's grave, well balanced at a dozen banks. By sleight of hand we haste to save a brown-eyed life, no stay for thanks. Alas, perhaps our instinct feels life is not all it might have been, so we applaud fantastic reels of shadow cast upon a screen. End of At the Movie Theatre. Sonnets in a Lodging House by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Each morn she crackles upward, tread by tread, all apprehensive of some hideous sight. Perhaps the fourth-floor bag who reads in bed forgot his gas and let it burn all night. The sweet young thing who has the middle room she much suspects, for once some ink was spilled, and then the plumber, in an hour of gloom, found all the bathroom pipes with tea leaves filled. No League of Nations scheme can make her gay. She knows the rank duplicity of man. Some folks expect clean towels every day. They get away with murder if they can. She tacks a card. Alas, few roomers mind it. Please leave the tub as you would wish to find it. Men lodgers are the best, the missus said. They don't use my gas jets to fry sardines. They don't leave red hot irons on the spread. They're out all morning when a body cleans. A man ain't so secretive, never cares what kind of private papers he leaves lay, so I can get a line on his affairs and dope out whether he is likely to pay. But women, say, they surely get my bug. They stop their keyholes up with chewing gum, spill grease and hide the damage with the rug, and fry marshmallows when their callers come. They always are behindhand with the rents. Take my advice and let your rooms to gents. End of Sonnets in a Lodging House. The Man with the Hoe Press by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. About these roaring cylinders, where leaping words and paper made a sudden glory moves and stirs, an inky cataract in spate. What voice for falsehood or for truth? What hearts attentive to be stirred? How dimly understood, in sooth, the power of the printed word! These flashing webs and cogs of steel have shaken empires, rooted kings, yet never turned too fast to feel the tragedies of humble things. O words, be strict in honesty, be just and simple and serene. O rhymes, sing true, or you will be unworthy of this great machine. End of The Man with the Hoe, Press. Do You Ever Feel Like God? By Christopher Morley. There's LibriVox recordings in the public domain. Across the court there rises the back wall of the Magna Carta apartments. The other evening the people in the apartment opposite had forgotten to draw the curtains. I could see them dining, the well-blanched cloth, the silver and glass, the crystal water jug, the meat and vegetables, and the clean pink hands, outstretched in busy gesture. It was pleasant to watch them, they were so human, so gay, innocent, unconscious of scrutiny. They were for an elderly couple, a young man and a girl, with lovely shoulders, mellow in the glow of the lamp. They were sitting over coffee, and I could see their hands talking. At last the older two left the room. The boy and girl looked at each other. Like a flash they leaned and kissed. Good old human race that keeps on multiplying. A little later I went down the street to the movies, and there I saw all four, laughing and joking together. And as I watched them I felt like God, benevolent, all-knowing, and tender. End of Do You Ever Feel Like God? Rapid Transit by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Climbing is easy and swift on Parnassus. Knocking my pipe out, I entered the bookshop. There found a book of verse by a young poet. Comrades at once, how I saw his mind glowing! Saw in his soul its magnificent rioting. Then I ran with him on hills that were windy, buzzed and laughed with him on sun-desert beaches, glutted myself on his green and blue twilights, watched him disposing his planets in patterns, tumbling his colors and toys all before him. I questioned life with him, his pulses, my pulses, doubted his doubts too, and grieved for his anguishes. Sorted long kinship and knew him from boyhood. Pulled out my own sun and stars from my knapsack, trying my trinkets with those of his finding. And as I left the bookshop, my pipe was still warm in my hand. End of rapid transit. Caught in the Undertow by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Colin, worshipping some frail but self-deprecation sways her, calls himself on Vaudeville, hardly even fit to praise her. But this tactic insincere in the upshot greatly grieves him, when he finds the lovely dear quite implicitly believes him. End of Caught in the Undertow. To His Brown-Eyed Mistress by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. To his brown-eyed mistress, who rallied him for praising blue eyes in his verses. If sometimes in a random phrase, for variation in my ditty, I chance blue eyes or grey to praise, and seem to intimate them pretty, it is because I do not dare, with too unmixed reiteration, to sing browner eyes and hair that are my true intoxication. Know, then, that I consider brown for ladies' eyes the only colour, and deem all other orbs in town, compared to yours, opaquer, duller. I pray perpend, my dearest dear, while blue-eyed maids the praise were drinking, how insubstantial was their cheer! It was of yours that I was thinking. End of To His Brown-Eyed Mistress. Peace by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. What is this peace, that statesmen sigh? How I have sought to make it mine! Where groaning cities clang and glow, I haunted, peace to know. And still I saw, where I passed by, discarded hearts, heard children cry. By willowed waters brimmed with rain, I thought to capture peace again. I sat me down, my peace to hurt, but beauty pricked me with a sword. For in the stillness something stirred, and I was crippled for a word. There is no peace a man can find, the anguish sits his heart behind. The eyes he loves, the perfect breast, too exquisite to give him rest. This is his curse, since brain began, his penalty for being man. End of Peace. Song in Deprecation of Pulchritude by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Beauty, so the poets say, thou art joy and solace great. Long ago and far away thou art safe to contemplate. Beauty, but when now and here, visible and close to touch, all too perilously near, thou tormentest us too much. In a picture, in a song, in a novel's conjured scenes, beauty, that's where you belong, where perspective intervenes. But, my dear, in rosy fact, your appeal I have to shirk. You disturb me, and distract my attention from my work. End of Song in Deprecation of Pulchritude. Mounted Police by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Watchful grave, he sits astride his horse, draped with his rubber poncho in the rain. He speaks the pungent lingo of the force, and those who try to bluff him try in vain. Inured to every mood of fool and crank, shrewdly and sternly all the crowd he cons. The rain drips down his horse's shining flank, a figure nobly fit for sculptor's bronze. O knight commander of our city's stress, little you know how picturesque you are. We hear you cry to drivers who transgress, say, there's a hell of a place to park your car. End of Mounted Police. To His Mistress, deploring that he is not an Elizabethan galaxy, by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Why did not fate to me bequeath an utterance Elizabethan? It would have been delight to me, if Natus ante 1603. My staff would not be soon forgotten, if I could write like Harry Wotton. I wish that I could wield the pen, like William Drummond of Hawthorne then. I would not fear the ticking clock, if I were Brown of Tavistock. For blithe conceits I would not worry, if I were Raleigh or the Earl of Surrey. I wish, I hope, I am not silly, that I could juggle words like Lyly. I envy many a lyric champion, it is namely, for example, Thomas Campion. I crack my rhymes up like a derrick, I never will be a Robin Herrick. My wits are dull as an old Barlow, I wish that I were Christopher Marlowe. In short, I'd like to be Philip Sidney, or some one else of that same kidney. For if I were, my lady's looks, and all my lyrics' special pleading, would be in all the future books, and called, at college, required reading. And after his mistress, deploring that he is not an Elizabethan galaxy. The Intruder by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. As I sat to sift my dreaming to the meet and needed word, came a merry interruption with insistence to be heard. Smiling stood a maid beside me, half alluring and half shy. Soft the white hint of her bosom escapade was in her eye. I must not be so invaded. In an anger then I cried, "Can't you see that I am busy? Tempting creature, stay outside. Pearly rascal, I am writing, I am now composing verse. Fee on antique invitation, wanton, vanish, fly, disperse. Baggage, in my godlike moment, what have I to do with thee?" And she laughed as she departed. "I am poetry," said she. End of The Intruder. Tit for Tat by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I often pass a gracious tree whose name I can't identify, but still I bow in courtesy, it waves a bough in kind reply. I do not know your name, O tree, are you hemlock or pine? But why should that embarrass me? Quite probably you don't know mine. End of Tit for Tat. Song for a Little House by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I'm glad our house is a little house, not too tall nor too wide. I'm glad the hovering butterflies feel free to come inside. Our little house is a friendly house, it is not shy or vain. It gossips with the talking trees and makes friends with the rains. And quick leaves cast a shimmer of green against our whited walls, and in the flocks the courteous bees are paying duty calls. End of Song for a Little House. The Plum Puppets by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. When little heads weary have gone to bed, when all the good nights and the prayers have been said, of all the good fairies that send bairns to rest, the little plum puppets are those I love best. If your pillow is lumpy, or hard, thin, and flat, the little plum puppets know just what they're at. They plump up the pillow, all soft, cool, and fat. The little plum puppets plump up it. The little plum puppets are fairies of beds. They have nothing to do but to watch sleepy heads. They turn down the sheets, and they tuck you in tight, and they dance on your pillow to wish you good night. No matter what troubles have bothered the day, though your doll broke her arm or the pup ran away, though your handies are black with the ink that was spilled, plum puppets are waiting in blanket and quilt. If your pillow is lumpy, or hard, thin, and flat, the little plum puppets know just what they're at. They plump up the pillow, all soft, cool, and fat. The little plum puppets plump up it. End of the Plum Puppets. Dandy Dandelion by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. When Dandy Dandelion wakes and combs his yellow hair, the ant his cup of dewdrop takes and sets his beak to air. The worm hides in a quilt of dirt to keep the thrush away. The bitter dons his pansy shirt, they know that it is day. And caterpillars haste to milk, the cow sleeps in the grass, the spider in his web of silk looks out for flies that pass. These humble people leap from bed, they know the night is done. When Dandy spreads his golden head, they think he is the sun. Dear Dandy truly does not smell as sweet as some bouquets. No florist gathers him to sell, he withers in a waste. Yet in the grass he's emperor, and lord of high renown, and grateful little folk adore his bright and shining crown. End of Dandy Dandelion. The High Chair by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Grimly the parent matches wit and will. Now, Wizzy, 3 more spoons. See Tom the cat, he'll drink it. You want to be big and fat, like Daddy, don't you? Careful now, don't spill. Yes, Daddy'll dance and blow smoke through his nose, but you must finish first. Come, drink it up. Splash! Oh, you must keep both hands on the cup. All gone? Now for the prunes, and so it goes. This is the battlefield that parents know, where one small splinter of old Adam's rib withstands an entire household offering spoons. No use to gnash your teeth, for she will go radiant to bed, glossy from crown to bib, with milk and cereal and a surf of prunes. End of the high chair. Love at First Sight by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Not long ago I fell in love, but unreturned is my affection. The girl that I'm enamored of pays little heed in my direction. I thought I knew her fairly well, in fact I had my arm around her, and so it's hard to have to tell how unresponsive I have found her. For though she is not frankly rude, her manners quite the wrong way rub me. It seems to me ingratitude to let me love her and then snub me. Though I'm considerate and fond, she shows no gladness when she spies me. She gazes off somewhere beyond and doesn't even recognize me. Her eyes, so candid, calm and blue, seem asking if I can support her in the style appropriate to a lady like her father's daughter. Well, if I can't, then no one can. And let me add that I intend to. She never know another man so fit for her to be a friend to. Not love me, eh? She better had. By Jove, I'll make her love me one day. For don't you see, I am her dad, and she'll be 3 weeks old on Sunday. End of Love at First Sight. Autumn Colors by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The chestnut trees turn yellow, the oak like cherry brown, the fir, the stubborn fellow, stayed green the whole year round. But oh, the bonny maple, how richly he does shine! He glows against the sunset like ruddy old port wine. End of Autumn Colors. The Last Cricket by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. When the bulb of the moon with white fire fills, and dead leaves crackle under the feet, when men roll kegs to the cider mills, and chestnuts roast on every street, when the night sky glows like a hollow shell of lustered emerald and pearl, the kilted cricket knows too well his doom, his tiny bagpipe skirl. Quavering under the polished stars, in stubble thicket and frosty copse, the cricket blows a few choked bars, and puts away his pipe and stops. End of The Last Cricket. To Louis, a Christmas Baby Now 1 Year Old by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Undaunted by a world of grief, you came upon perplexing days, and cynics doubt their disbelief to see the sky stains in your gaze. Your sudden and inclusive smile and your emphatic tears admit that you must find this life worthwhile, so eagerly you clutch at it. Your face of triumph says, brave might, the life is full of love and luck, of blankets to kick off at night, and 2 soft rose-pink toms to suck. O loveliest of pioneers, upon this trail of long surprise, may all the stages of the years show such enchantment in your eyes. By parents' patient buttonings and endless safety pins you'll grow to ribbons, garters, hooks and things, up to the ultimate trousseau. But never in your dainty prime will you be more adored by me than when you see this great first time lit candles on a Christmas tree. December 1919. End of To Louise. Christmas Eve by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Our hearts tonight are opened wide, the grudge, the grief, our latest sight. The path and porch are swept of snow, the doors unlatched, the hearthstones glow. No visitor can be denied. Our tender human homes must hide some wistfulness beneath their pride. Compassionate and humble grow our hearts tonight. Let empty chair and cup abide. Who knows, some well-remembered stride may come as one so long ago. Then welcome be it friend or foe. There is no anger can divide our hearts tonight. End of Christmas Eve. Epitaph on the Proofreader of the Encyclopedia Britannica by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Majestic tomes, you are the tomb Of Aristides' Edward Bloom, Who labored from the world aloof In reading every page of prose. From A to N, from O's to B's, Enthusiasm still was his. From cow to child, from child to con, His soft lead pencil still went on. But reaching volume fair to Gibb, He knew at length that he was Sib To Satan, and he sold his soul To reach the section pay to Paul. Then Paul to read and shoe to sob, He staggered on and sought a pub. And just completing wet to zim, The motor hearse came round for him. He perished, obstinately brave. They laid the index on his grave. End of epitaph on the proofreader of the Encyclopedia Britannica. The Music Box by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. At 6, long ere the wintry dawn, there sounded through the silent hall, to where I lay with blankets drawn above my ears, a plaintive call. The urchin, in the eagerness of 3 years old, could not refrain. Awake, he straightway yearned to dress and frolic with his clockwork train. I heard him with a sullen shock. His sister, by her usual plan, had piped us off at 3 o'clock. I walked to quench the little man. I leaned above him, somewhat stern, and spoke, I fear, with emphasis. Ah, how much better parents learn To seal one's censure with a kiss! Again the house was dark and still, Again I lay in slumber's snare, When down the hall I heard a trill, A tiny tinkling tuneful air. His music box, his best loved toy, His crib companion every night, And now he turned to it for joy While waiting for the lagging light. How clear and how absurdly sad Those tingling pricks of sound unrolled! They choked and quavered as the lad His lonely little heart consoled. Columbia, the ocean's gem, its only tune, shrilled sweet and faint. He cranked the chimes, admiring them, in verdure gay without complaint. The treble music piped and stirred the living air that was his bliss, and as I most contritely heard, I thanked the all unconscious Swiss. The needed jets of melody ran slowlier and died away. The urchin slept, and it was I who lay and waited for the day. End of the Music Box. To Loath, Robert Burns Dog by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Darling Jean was Jean Amor, a comely country lass, whom Burns met at the penny wedding at Marshland. They chanced to be dancing in the same quadrille when the poet's dog sprang to his master and almost upset some of the dancers. Burns remarked that he wished he could get any of the lasses to like him as well as his dog did. Some days afterward, Jean, seeing him pass as she was bleaching clothes on the village green, called to him and asked him if he had yet got any of the lasses to like him as well as his dog did. That was the beginning of an acquaintance that colored all of Burns' life. Nathan Haskell Dole. Well, Loath, man, when you came prancing, all glee to see you Robin dancing, his partner's muslin gown mischancing, you leaped for joy, and little guessed what sweet romancing you caused, my boy. With happy bark, that moment jolly, you frisked and frolicked, faithful collie. This other dog, oh melancholy, was put to flight, but what a tale of grief and folly you wept that night. Ah, Loath, Tyke, your bonny master, whose lyric pulse beat ever faster. Each time he saw a lass and pass her, his breast went bang. In many a woeful heart's disaster he felt a pang. For Robin's heart forever burning, forever roving, ranting, yearning. From you that hearts might have been learning to be less fickle, might have been spared so many a turning and grievous prickle. Your collie heart held but one notion when Robin jigged in sprightly motion. You ran to show your own devotion, and gambled too, and so the tempest on love's ocean was due to you. Well, it is over late for preaching, and hearts are aye too hot for teaching. When Robin with his eye beseeching by Greenside came, Jeanie, poor lass, forgot her bleaching, and yours to blame. End of To Loath. Thoughts on Reaching Land by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. I had a friend whose path was pained, oppressed by all the cares of earth. Life gave him little chance to drain his secret cisterns of rich mirth. His work was hasty, harassed, vexed. His dreams were laid aside perforce, until in this world or the next he strayed newspaperman of course. What vaunted wealth of tenderness, what ingots of the heart and mind, he must uneasily repress beneath the rasping daily grind. But now and then, and with my aid, for fear his soul be wholly lost, he's devoted to the grape he paid to cause so better at any cost. Then, liberate from discipline, undrugged by caution and control, through all his veins came flooding in the virtued passion of his soul. His spirit bared, and felt no shame. With holy light his eyes would shine, see truth her acolyte to reclaim after the second glass of wine. The self that life had trodden hard, aspired, was generous and free. The glowing heart the cat had shared grew flame as it was meant to be. A pox upon the canting lord who caught the glass the devil's shape! A greater pox where some sort defiles the honor of the grape. Then look with reverence on wine that kindles human brains uncouth. There must be something part divine in art that brings us nearer truth. So continently scour your fumes. Here let our little sermon end, and bless this X-ray that illumes the secret bosom of your friend. End of Thoughts on Reaching Land. A Symposium by Christopher Morley. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. There was a Russian novelist whose name was Salugubrious. The reading circles took him up, they heard he was salubrious. The Women's Club of Cripple Creek soon held a kind of seminar to learn just what his message was. You know what bookworms women are. The tea went round. After 5 cups, you should have seen them bury tea. Dear Mrs. Brown said what she liked was the great man's sincerity. Sweet Mrs. Jones, how free she was from all besetting vanity, declared that she loved even more his broad and deep humanity. Good Mrs. Smith, though she disclaimed all thought of being critical, protested that she found his work a wee bit analytical. But Mrs. Black, the president of wisdom, found the pinnacle. She said, dear me, I always think those Russians are so cynical. Well, poor old Salugubrious, it's true that they had heard of him, but neither Brown, Jones, Smith, nor Black had ever read a word of him. End of A Symposium. To a telephone operator who has a bad cold by Christopher Morley. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. How hoarse and husky in my ear your usually cheerful chirrup! You have an awful cold, my dear. Try aspirin or bronchial syrup. When I put in a call today, compassion stood my human blood red. To hear you faintly, sadly say the number Bury Hill did 100. I felt, I say, quick sympathy to hear you croak in the receiver. Will you be sorry too for me a month hence when I have hay fever? End of To a telephone operator who has a bad cold. Nursery Rhymes for the Tender-Hearted by Christopher Morley. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Dedicated to Don Marquis. Scuttle, scuttle, little roach, how you run when I approach, up above the pantry shelf, hastening to secrete yourself. Most adventurous of vermin, how I wish I could determine how you spend your hours of ease, perhaps reclining on the cheese. Cook has gone, and all is dark, then the kitchen is your park. In the garbage heap that she leaves, do you browse among the tea leaves? How delightful to suspect all the places you have tracked. Does your long antenna whisk its gentle tip across the biscuits? Do you linger, little soul, drowsing in our sugar bowl, or abandonment most utter, shake a shimmy on the butter? Do you chant to your simple tunes, swimming in the baby's prunes? Then, when dawn comes, do you slink homeward to the kitchen sink? Timid roach, why be so shy? We are brothers, thou and I. In the midnight, like yourself, I explore the pantry shelf. Rockabye insect, lie low in thy den. Father's a cockroach, mother's a hen, and Betty, the maid, doesn't clean up the sink. So you shall have plenty to eat and to drink. Hushabye insect, behind the mince pies, if the cook sees you, her anger will rise. She'll scatter poison as bitter as gall, death to poor cockroach, hen, baby, and all. There was a gay hen roach, and what do you think? She lived in a cranny behind the old sink. Egg shells and grease were the chief of her diet. She went for a stroll when the kitchen was quiet. She walked in the pantry and sampled the bread, but when she came back her old husband was dead. Long had to live, for his legs they were fast, but the kitchen maid caught him and squashed him at last. I knew a black beetle who lived down a drain, and friendly he was though his manners were plain. When I took a bath he would come up the pipe, and together we'll wash and together we'll wipe. Though mother would sometimes protest with a sneer that my choice of a tubmate was wanton and queer. A nicer companion I never have seen. He bathed every night, so he must have been cleaned. Whenever he heard the tap splash in the tub, he'd dash up the drain pipe and wait for a scrub. And often, so fond of absolution was he, I'll find him there floating and waiting for me. But nurse has done something that seems a great shame. She saw him there, waiting, prepared for a game. She turned on the hot and she scolded him sore, and he'd never come bathing with me any more. End of Nursery Rhymes for the Tender-Hearted. The Twins by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Con was a taunt to brother Pro. On Pro we often seek him. Whatever Pro will claim to know, old Con will contradict him. End of the Twins. A Printer's Madrigal by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Extremely technical. I'd like to have you meet my wife. I simply cannot keep from hinting. I've never seen in all my life so fine a specimen of printing. Her type is not some bold-faced font, set solid, nay, and I will say out that no typographer could want to see a better balanced layout. A nice proportion of white space there is for brown eyes to look large in, and not a feature in her face comes anywhere too near the margin. Locked up with all her sweet display, her form will never pie. She's like a corrected proof-mark stat OK. And yet she loves me, fat-faced piker. She has a fine one-column head, and like a comma curves each eyebrow. Her forehead has an extra lat, which makes her seem a trifle highbrow. Her nose, italicized brevier, too lovely to describe my pen point. Her mouth is set in pearl, her ear and chin are comely Castellan 10-point. Her cheeks, a pink parenthesis, make my pulse beat 14 their measure, and such typography as this would make the wind scream with pleasure. And so, of all type-founder chaps, her father's best, in my opinion. She is my nonpareil in caps, and I in lowercase her minion. I hope you will not stand aloof because my metaphors are shoppy. Of her devotion I've approved. I tell the urchin, follow copy. End of the Printer's Madrigal. The Poet on the Hearth by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. When fire is kindled on the dogs, but still the stubborn oak delays, small embers laid above the logs will draw them into sudden blaze. Just so the minor poet's part, a greater he need not desire. The charcoals of his burning heart may light some master into fire. End of The Poet on the Hearth. Oh, Praise Me Not the Country by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Oh, praise me not the country, the meadows green and cool, the solemn glow of sunsets, the hidden silver pool, the city for my craving, her lordship and her slaving, the hot stones of her paving, for me a city fool. Oh, praise me not the leisure of garden country seats, the fountains on the terrace against the summer heats, the city for my yearning, my spending and my earning, her winding ways for learning, sing hey, the city streets. Oh, praise me not the country, her sycamores and bees. I had my youthful plenty of sour apple trees, the city for my wooing, my dreaming and my doing, her beauty for pursuing, her deathless mysteries. Oh, praise me not the country, her evenings full of stars, her yachts upon the water with the wind among the spars, the city for my wonder, her glory and her blunder, and oh, the haunting thunder of the elevated cars. End of Oh, Praise Me Not the Country. A Stone in St. Paul's Graveyard by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. New York. Here lies the body of John Jones, the son of John Jones, who departed this life December the 13th, 1768, aged 4 years and 4 months and 2 days. Here, where enormous shadows creep, he casts his childish shadow too. How small he seems beneath the steep, great walls, his tender days so few, lovingly numbered every one, John Jones, little son. All sounds like on the lightning's wings. Yet though our buildings skyward climb, our heartbreaks are but little things. In the equality of time, the sum of life for all men's stones, he was John Jones, son of John Jones. End of a stone in St. Paul's graveyard. The Madonna of the Curb by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. On the curb of a city pavement, by the ash and garbage cans, in the stench and rolling thunder of motor trucks and vans, there sits my little lady with brave but troubled eyes, and in her arms a baby that cries and cries and cries. She cannot be more than 7, but years go fast in the slums, and hard on the pains of winter the pitiless summer comes. The wail of sickly children, she knows, she understands, the pangs of puny bodies, the clutch of small hot hands. In the deadly blaze of August that turns men vain and mad, she quiets the peevish urchins by telling a dream she had, a heaven with marble counters, and ice and a singing fan, and a garden white so friendly, just like the drugstore man. Her ragged dress is dearer than the perfect robe of a queen. Poor little lass who knows not the blessing of being clean. And when you are giving millions to Belgian, Pole, and Serb, remember my pitiful lady, Madonna of the Curb. End of the Madonna of the Curb. The Island by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. A song for England? Nay, what is a song for England? Our hearts go by Greencliff Kinsale, among the gulls' white wings, or where on Kentish forelands pale the lighthouse beacon swings. Our hearts go up the Mersey's tide, come in on Suffolk foam. The blood that will not be denied moves fast and calls us home. Our hearts now walk a secret round on many a Cotswold hill, for we are mixed of island ground, the island draws us still. Our hearts may pace a windy turn where Sussex downs are high, or watch the lights of London burn, a bonfire in the sky. What is the virtue of that soil that flings her strength so wide? Her ancient courage, patient toil, her stubborn wordless pride. A little land, yet love-terrain as any land may be, rejoicing in her discipline, the salt stress of the sea. Our hearts shall walk a Sherwood track, our lips taste English rain. We thrill to see the Union Jack across some deep sea lane. Though all the world be of rich cause, and marvellous with worth, yet if the island ground were lost, how empty were the earth! A song for England? Lo, every word bespeaks a song for England. End of the Island. Sunday Night by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Two grave brown eyes severely bent upon a memorandum book, a sparkling face on which are blent a hopeful and a pensive look. A pencil, purse, and book of checks, with stubs of varying amounts. Elaine, the shrewdest of her sex, is busy balancing accounts. Sedately in the big armchair, she all engrossed the audit scans. Her pencil hovers here and there, the while she calculates and plans. What's this? A faintly pensive frown upon her forehead gathers now. Ah, does the butcher, heartless clown, beget that shadow on her brow? A murrain on the tradesman's chair, who caused this fair accountant's gloom. Just then a baby's cry, my girl, arose and swiftly left the room. Then in her purse, by stratagem, I trust some bills of small amounts. She'll think she had forgotten them, and smile again at her accounts. End of Sunday Night. England, July 1913 by Christopher Morley. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Oh, England, England, that July, how placidly the days went by! 2 years ago, how long it seems, in that dear England of my dreams. I lived and smoked and laughed amain, and rode to Cambridge in the rain. A careless godlike life was there, to spin the roads with shots over, to dream while punting on the Cam, to lie and never give a damn for anything but comradeship, and books to read and ale to sip, and shanty gaffs at every inn, when the gorilla rode to lean. Oh, war of wheel and pipe and oar, in those old days before the war! Oh, poignant echoes of that time! I hear the Oxford towers chime, the throbbing of those Mallow bells, and all the sweet old English smells, the Devon water quick with salt, the Woodbridge brewhouse and the malt, the Suffolk villages serene, with lads at cricket on the green. And autumn strawberries so ripe, and Moray's mixture in my pipe. In those dear days, how pleasant lay the country ways. The echoes of our stalwart mirth went echoing wide around the earth. And in an endless bliss of sun we lay and watched the river run, and chilled by Carmen eye by Isis, were happy with our own devices. Ah, can we ever know again such friends as were those chosen men? Such men to drink, to buy, to smoke with, to worship with, or lie and joke with? Never again, my lads, will see the life we led at 23. Never again perhaps shall I go flashing bravely down the high, to see in that transcendent hour the sunset glow on Magdalen Tower. Dear Rupert Brooke, your words recall those endless afternoons and your Cambridge, which I loved as one who was her grandson, not her son. Oh, ripples where the river slacks in grinning eddies round the backs, where men have dreamed such gallant things. Under the old stone bridge at King's, or leaned to feed the silver swans by the tennis meads at John's. O Granta's water, cold and fresh, kissing the warm and eager flesh, under the willow's breathing stir, the bathing pool at Grantchester. What words can tell, what words can praise the burlesque savour of those days? Dear singing lad, those days are dead, and gone for aye your golden head, and many other well-loved men will never die in hall again. I too have lived remembered hours, in Cambridge heard the summer showers make music on old Halford's pane, while I was reading Pepys or Taine, through Trumpington and Grantchester. I used to row on Shuttleworth at Hoxton Bridge my lamp would light, and sleep in Ralston for the night. All the 5 miles from anywhere I used to scowl and sit and swear while Wops attacked my bread and jam those summer evenings on the camp. Oh, crispy English cottage loaves, baked in ovens, not in stoves! Oh, white unsalted English butter, oh, satisfaction none can utter! To think that while those joys I knew in Cambridge I did not know you. Anne of England, July 1913. Casualty by Christopher Morley. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. A well-sharp pencil leads one on to write. When guns are cocked, the shot is guaranteed. The prim occasion puts the deed in sight. Who steals a book who knows not how to read? Seeing a pulpit, who can silence keep? A maid who would not dream her tane to vice? Men looking down from some sheer dizzy steep have quite impromptu lived and ended lives. End of Casualty. A Grub Street Recessioner by Christopher Morley. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. O noble gracious English tongue, whose fibres we so sadly twist, for caitiff measures he has sung, have pardon on the journalist. For mumbled metre, leaden pond, for slipshod rhyme and lazy word, have pity on this graceless one, thy mercy, O thy servant, Lord! The metaphors and tropes depart, our little clippings fade and bleach. There is no virtue and no art, save in straightforward Saxon speech. Yet not in ignorance or spite, nor with thy noble past forgot. We sinned, indeed we had to write to keep a fire beneath the pot. Then grant that in the coming time, with inky hand and polished sleeve, in lucid prose or honest rhyme, some worthy task we may achieve. Some pinnacled and marbled phrase, some lyric breaking like the sea, that we may learn, not hoping praise, to give of thy simplicity. End of a Grub Street Recessioner. Preliminary Instructions for a Funeral Service, being a poem in 4 stanzas by Christopher Morley. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Say this poor fool misfeatured all his days, and could not mend his ways, and say he trod most heavily upon the corns of God, but also say that in his clabbered brain there was the essential pain, the idiot's vow, to tell his troubled truth no matter how. Unhappy fool, you say, with pitiful air, who was he, then, and where? Ah, you divine, he lives in your heart as he lives in mine. End of Preliminary Instructions for Funeral Service. End of Chimneysmoke by Christopher Morley.